Good evening, Alaska Teens for Hire. I am Charles Clark, the owner and founder of this program, and tonight I want to address a couple different things. First, being the pause during Christmas time. We had the pause for the past couple weeks, past couple months, from winter this year. I want to address the unpausing of the groups and then a lot of the concerns of the community and my admin team. Going back to the Christmas pause, where we paused the groups for about 2 weeks during Christmas time, there was a lot of mixed feedback that we got from this, which was kind of shocking. But we paused the groups for a couple different reasons. One is the kids during Christmas time, they should be focusing on family, going, for the holidays. This is their time that after working all year round and stuff like that, they should be able to enjoy Christmas. And we've noticed for the past couple of years that during Christmas time, like there is very little to no jobs. And the ones that do get posted are not good at all. So instead of keeping my admins on just basically 24 hours, 7 days a week, stress drama, it's like, you know what? Me and the admin team talked about it and we agreed. It's like, we're just going to let everybody just take Christmas off, from Christmas, New Year's, just go enjoy the holidays, be with friends and loved ones. And it got all kinds of negative drama. First of all, my team does not get paid for this. I don't get paid for this. This is something we do as volunteers. We started this as volunteers and it's been volunteers since. We don't work for you. You don't know. So to come in and play this like entitled attitude, which just wasn't going to fly. The second thing is the only people that were complaining were locals. It wasn't teens. It wasn't parents. It was locals. And it wasn't the fact that they were pausing because they had jobs. They were just complaining because the groups were paused. And it's like, no. It's like, unless you have something to contribute, don't bring drama. But the thing is my team got to go and enjoy their holidays. The kids got to go enjoy their holidays. The parents were happy. And that's what mattered. Everybody got to relax, not worry about satisfying teen jobs and just focusing on living life and enjoying their families. And that's what a lot of Christmas is about. Enjoying vacation times and free times when you get them. Because when you're out there in the real world, you may not get a vacation. You may not have time for a lot of your family stuff. But when you get the time, make the most of it. And there was a lesson there, and a lot of teens and families enjoyed that. And they took advantage of it, as they should have. Those people that complain, you fell on deaf ears. Coming into the winter season, a lot of people don't realize that Alaska is dependent upon its environment for jobs. Summertime, where we need dry weather for lawn mowing and stuff like that. If it's a lot of rain, you can't do that. If you have a lot of smoky where people can't breathe, you can't have a lot of outside jobs. Same thing is true in the winter, though. Can't have winter jobs without snow. There wasn't any snow. There wasn't snow to shovel. There wasn't. And if it did snow, it snowed just a little bit and it was melted like the next day. There wasn't enough to actually have snow jobs. And not only did it affect the teens, but it affected a lot of locals too. To where a lot of these local adults had to call, do audibles. Going and taking other jobs on the side, whether it be like dealing with trees or stuff like that. Everybody's got their own, skill sets. The thing about a lot of these kids is they don't have a lot of skill sets. They get dependent upon the snow jobs to come in the winter, and they just weren't there. So, because there was no snow jobs or even just a lot of outside jobs for them to do, and there wasn't a lot of inside jobs because we just got past the holiday season, the supply of jobs was low. So there was no need for Teens for Hire at the time. We just weren't needed. A lot of these kids went and picked up jobs at like fast food or Kroger, whatever, or Fred Meyer, whatever. cars, whatever jobs they can pick up. They adapted. And we got a lot of hostility from this. And it wasn't just like everybody, it was just like these select few people made mountains out of molehills. Matter of fact, I remember one, she used to be a moderator and she messes up complaining. And she's like, well, the jobs are posted. Like, well, I've got jobs to post. I'm like, well, what do you mean you got jobs to post? Like, well, I've had them for about 4 months. I'm like, why didn't you post the jobs? Well, I've got them now. It's like, yeah, but you said you've had them for 4 months. Why not post the jobs? Don't just sit there and treat the jobs like a carrot, for the kids, and like you dangling out there like, I got a job, I got a job, I got a job. No. If you got a job, post it. Otherwise, we're going to take what data we have, which is there's no winter and summer jobs, there's no indoor jobs. And all we kept getting was like a couple little like babysitting jobs that were illegal. As far as like supply of good jobs, they just weren't there. So we let the kids go and focus on what jobs they did have, like, the brick and mortars, or focus on school, which is what a lot of them did. They focused on their grades, their school activities. They put their minds where it needed to be. But there's a select few locals that had problems with that. Honestly, if you got a problem with it and you can't talk to us respectfully, you're gonna fall on deaf ears. If you do have a concern, we'll gladly listen. We didn't get a lot of complaints with respect. We got a lot of the drama. And so we used the winter season to kind of test things out. Like, we wanted to see just how the communities as a whole were doing. And it was very educational. We saw little groups popping up, pretend to be us. You go in there and you see all these adults applying and there's not a kid in sight. Or they might find just one or two kids. Or if a kid does apply, they get beat by an adult. We've seen a couple of public groups pop up. And next thing you know, you find people that we have kicked out and banned for illegal activities like theft or, other acts I won't talk about here. They're finding their ways there. And because that's not our groups, not our territories, and we're falling on deaf ears, it's just what we call the red zone, where there's danger there, but nobody's gonna listen to us. So they're popping up, but a lot of these kids got smart about it and they learned. They've learned from experience from us, did not go to those places. So winter for us was not only was it a break, but it was also a way for us to analyze the community. And at the same time, let supply refill. And that's going to bring us into May, where people got to realize that if Teens for Hire wasn't there, it changes the way the communities are, because people don't realize that 10 years ago, there was no Teens for Hire until we started it. And even when it started, it was drama, but it wasn't this kind of drama. It was locals afraid of the teenagers because teenagers are trouble. Teenagers are scary. Teenagers are lazy. All they do is sit around and play Xbox. There's all these misconceptions. And we spent a good couple of years breaking through all of that to create opportunities for kids that didn't exist. And so with using this winter, we figured out what the new misconceptions are, which is there's a select few locals that are entitled. They act like the world revolves around them, or that everything should be their way, or just they don't want to do things our way, and just anybody but us. But at the same time, though, we found that a lot of the community still very much supports what we do. We have a lot of allies and a lot of friends out there, and it was, very, very good Christmas present to see the support that we still had, after doing this for almost 10 years. So from the bottom of my heart, everybody that has had our backs, thank you very much. It's nice that, even when, somebody's trying to go behind our back and badmouth us, that we have people still looking out for us. Now, having said all that, before we do unpause the groups, there is some questions and concerns that we want to address. I'm going to start with my team's concerns, and this will cover a lot of it. The first one is, and we've said this many times over the years, that when it comes to suggestions and ideas, they're welcome, but you gotta be respectful. That's why, like, if you go into the rules, here we go. Etiquette. Rule 2. We're all in this together to create a welcoming environment. Let's treat everyone with respect. Healthy debates are natural, but kindness is required. Make sure everyone feels safe. Bullying of any kind isn't allowed. Degrading comments about race, religion, culture, sexual orientation, gender identity will not be tolerated or approved. Blocking the admins and mods with immediate removal. No exceptions, no exemptions. Be respectful. And for some reason, people think that they can get kicked out of Teams for Hire and then go and, or even just being in Teams for Hire, they'll go and badmouth us and think they're going to be able to stick around. It's like, no. If you can't be respectful, if you can't sit there and, help promote the group, you're not going to be in it. Be part of the solution. Don't be part of the problem. If you want to be part of the problem, go somewhere else. Because the communities of Alaska support Teams for Hire. They want to see it succeed. They want to see it thrive. They're going to help us, make it better. But if you're just trying to tear it down, you're in the wrong area. I'll tell you that right now. Next one. Patience. Because we have lives too. People, I guess, this is all volunteers, guys. This is people that do this in their spare time, and they even give more than their spare time. But things like my admins work hard at this. They put a lot of thought, a lot of research, a lot of homework into this. It's not like everything is just, here's a post and whatever. We built our own training program, and most people don't pass it because it requires a certain mindset, when you realize just how crazy things can get. But those that do pass it, they learn this appreciation about life, Alaskan culture that they've never experienced before. It's a whole new perspective, and we open their eyes to everything. So the fact that all this is volunteer, have some patience. If you post a job, it does not have to be approved immediately. There's no auto approve. Everything gets looked at, gets picked apart, making sure that all the questions are answered, all the information's there. We're putting ourselves in the minds of the person you're trying to talk to. So if you're a local trying to hire a team, we're thinking like a team. Okay, what is missing from this? What is the team going to ask questions about? If your team posting up for locals, all right. How do we set you up for success to where you're going to get those locals applying? Because the last thing I want to do is see you post it, your business, and nobody applies or nobody calls you. So have some patience with us. Give us the time that we ask for. We're putting in hard work for you. If you're gonna play it has to be my way right now, or I'm not gonna post it. Take it to the red zone, and then when you get somebody try to scam you, now you know why we try to give you extra time. The complaining. There's people that literally want to complain. Every job, every comment is just complain. And the things they're complaining about are their own faults. Like we saw one where somebody posted a job, didn't even put how much they're paying, and they got denied. And instead, we reached out to them and was like, hey, we need to fix this. They deleted the job and then went and complained about it. What they don't realize is we have all this stuff documented. We have screenshots of everything. We save everything. So as soon as they go badmouth and it's like, they denied, I don't know what happened, blah, blah, blah. Let me share this. Let me share this screenshot. And then you look like a fool. Don't do that. It's the people have been playing that game for years, and all it does is make yourselves look bad. That's one of the reasons why we have a lot of the community supporters, because they know all our stuff is transparent. They know all evidence is there. It's all backed up. There's the integrity's there. You're not going to pull a fast one on Teams for Hire. So stop trying to play the games. Stop trying to complain. If you have a valid concern, come politely express this. Message the page. We'll talk about it. Some stuff you may realize is technology that we don't have control over. Facebook being Facebook. Some things could be a certain Alaska law or federal law. We don't have control of those either. You can go and complain to your congressman about that. But don't try to destroy Teams for Hire just because something isn't your way. I remember one kid that he wanted to start a business, and it's like, okay, let's talk about it. But the business he wanted to start, it literally had a minimum age requirement of 19. Like, you cannot do that job until you're 19. And we told him this, and it's like, you're too young. The state law says you have to be 19 to be able to get a business license for this and so like that. They will not let you do it. And instead of accepting that, he tried everything under the sun to try to get his business approved and posted. Trying to change his name or reword it differently. And it's like, dude, no. We're not going to break the law for you. Sorry, not going to happen. When it comes to posts, not every post is black and white. There's black and white, and then there's a space in the middle that's gray. And when it comes to like a lot of these youth laws, there's a lot of gray space there. Where you got to either have interpretation or you got to go look at a local law somewhere to see if that's going to take precedence. Because they'll sit there and do something like it was posted in the Matsu, but it wasn't posted in Anchorage. But it is a law that applies for everybody and everywhere. And say, okay, so what is this law? And so, well, it says this. Is like, well, does it address this? No. Well, okay, so we can do this, but not this. We look at everywhere, at everything. Or we'll take that when we contact the ombudsman and say, hey, we got this job situation. Is there any legal issues with that? And they'll say yes, no. If they change this, we got support there. We got people that, we know people that are in every profession you can think of that we can reach out to find out. That's how much support Teams for Hire has. So if it gets posted, that means as much homework has been done to make sure beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is a safe and legal job that your team can do. You won't find that anywhere else in the country. I'm not saying just Alaska. I'm saying the country. Go look. You look at every Teams for Hire program. There's a lot of public ones that are either filled with spam bots or adults trying to take the jobs. Or you're going to find certain programs out there. It's like, well, we do jobs for kids. And all this, somebody shows up on your doorstep trying to solicit you stuff. There's nothing like Alaska Teams for Hire. It is so unique. And the fact that it's been going for almost a decade, that's how successful it's still going. Even with all the headaches that try to come with it. It's resilient. Whether it be bad locals or kids trying to break the laws or even COVID. We adapted to everything. So the greatest role model that a kid can have is the Teens for Hire program itself. Because through everything, it's persevered. All you got to do is look at the Teens for Hire experience. And if it worked in Teens for Hire, it can work out in the real world. Because that's what we try to do is we try to train kids and teach kids how the real world works, one thing at a time, or one step at a time. That's what Teens for Hire is. What we call a sandbox environment, where kids can come in and not have the expectations of the real world per se. Where if you get fired, your world is over as far as that career, or that business is, or you get blacklisted out for the rest of your life. You can make mistakes. You can learn from them. You can always start over. You can always, have a fresh start. But it's when you learn that you're making mistakes and you want to have a fresh start, or you're making mistakes and you need to make changes. Or if you're succeeding and you're doing good things, you want to make better. Every day is like a new day. But if you're going to treat tomorrow like yesterday, then you're not ready for change. So like some of these kids that do get, suspended or even kicked out, and they're like, well, I'm just not come back. It's like, well, when you're ready, let us know. When you're ready to start a new day, a new chapter in your life, and using the program as intended instead of coming in trying to scam locals. And we've had some kids that have, some kids that haven't. That's life. We're not here to satisfy everybody. We're not here to help every team. We're here to help every team that wants to be helped. And we're here for every local that wants help and at the same time wants to help kids. Here, moving on, falls in the same thing with the complaints, the attitudes. Long story short, if you wouldn't go into your business, your church, whatever, and talk to people there with the attitude you talk to us, don't do that to us. You bring your best game, your best respect. Like if you're going to walk into an employer to apply for a job, or if you are an employer trying to get employees, what is the best attitude you can bring to that environment? That's what you should bring to Teams Fire, and that's what you bring to my admins. You do that, we'll give you that positive attitude, get a positive experience. We'll give you the best that we got. But if you're coming with negative, you're going to get negative in return. That's the way the world works, and that's what Teams Fire is. It keeps it real. This God complex going on that I don't understand. I can do better. Okay? Be my guest. You think you can do better? You got two choices. Either one, go make your own group that's going to be gone about 3 months because you're going to get, PO'd and tired, and you're not going to deal with every local or team that's going to try to pull a fast one. Or come take a shot and be one of my moderators or admins. See if you can even make it through the training that my admin team will put you through. And when you realize, like, oh my God, your guys' job sucks. Well, that's your perspective. But at the same time, though, it'll give you a new appreciation of everything that we do, everything we put up with. We deal with every personality type, every mentality, every attitude, every experience on the spectrum on a daily basis. Most people don't have that, they can't handle it. It's too much for them. And that's why a lot of my moderators, they didn't stick around. They either quit or got fired or whatever. And it came down to just a select few admins because they can handle it. They've learned to appreciate it. And, this is something that they enjoy doing. Not like it's a burden. It's not too much for them. And they're also not mods that have tried to take advantage of the system either. Demanding. We have, for some reason, people that think that just because they post a job that it's got to be approved right there and ready to go. Instant gratification. No. We have teams that will make an edit to their post and they'll message us like, can you approve my post? Can you approve my post? No. Our admins have lives. Some will work for a living. Some are in school. Everybody has lives. Some could be sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yes, I know that's probably not me, but there's still people that do sleep. I heard it's a thing. Don't message us and say, can you approve my post? We see the queue. When we get to it, and the thing is, like, when people say, well, my post has been there for 24 hours. No, it hasn't. Nobody's post has ever been there for 24 hours. A couple hours tops. We may see it and then we'll address it. And it's like, all right, we're doing some homework on it. It might stay for a couple of days. Because it might be one of those where we have to message the ombudsman or do some research on law or something like that. But it'll be addressed in a timely manner. Whether it gets approved, needs work on, or needs some homework to it. But it gets addressed in a timely manner. And that's been every day since we started. Nothing has gone this whole 24-hour thing that somebody tries to blow by us. And like I've told you guys before, everything is documented, everything is logged, we got the activity logs, everything. We see everything. We got all the timestamps. So when you try to pull that fast one, it only makes you look foolish. Don't do it. If you got questions, talk to us. If you got concerns, be respectful. If you look at the template, if you look in the rules, every single template, the first rule, if you need assistance, message our main page, and here's the link. If you have questions, you need help, you need anything, message the page. For some reason, we still have people that will message my private Facebook or Jenny or Louise or Ian or Sonia, like message them directly. All you're doing is setting yourself up for failure on two accounts. One, because you're messaging someone's private Facebooks, and all you're gonna do is make them mad at that. But two, when you message, like say one of us, you're only getting one of us based on our schedules. So if I'm out of town that day, your stuff's gonna be sitting in my messenger for the next 24 hours until I get back to it. That's the reason we have this. So when you message the page, you're gonna get all of my admins, because it goes to one account that everybody has access to. We operate as a team. Nobody's a cowboy on this. Nobody does anything by themselves. It's all shared mentalities. If there's stuff that we're not sure about, even me, like I'll message the team like, hey, what do you guys think about this? Or is there something we can add to it? Or this doesn't feel right. What do you guys think? Am I missing something? And like, nope, you're right on that. It's like, yes, don't worry about this. This is just a misconception. Watch this and message this and fix it. Well, we talk. You're gonna get 5, 6 people message the page. You message me, you might get me if I'm even taking private messages because you didn't follow the rule. I may just ignore you because maybe your stuff got sent to my spam folder. Don't set yourself up for failure. Follow rule 1. And quit messaging our private accounts. The one thing that everybody fails on all the time and complains about, the number one complaint is getting your post approved or post, just getting it posted right. And the reason why they have problems is because everybody does everything except for the way it's supposed to be done. Because if you go to the group roles, it'll say right here, post it must be on the main wall using the correct template. Do not post jobs as replies. And because people will go find like some post from 6 years ago and like here's a reply and then they'll slap the job there. Don't do that. Don't post them in a private message because it's illegal. Utilize templates solely from the feature tab. Stop saving templates. Because if you go to my templates, you'll notice that the last time it was posted was October 6th. That was the last change, the last revision. I have not changed it in 7 months. But what some of you'll do is you'll go and you'll save that template. And you'll keep using it and using it and using it. And then, like, say, next month, I'll make one change, because there's something to make it better. That's like a new technology or something like that. And I'll change the revision date. It'll say, like, May 10th. And what do we see the next day? People try to post with the October 6th template. You do that, it's going to be instantly denied. Because that's not the correct template. The new one is that date. So we look at the revision, just to double check, as I'll show you. We put a version, so that way it's easy to check that way, or the revision date, October 6th. We do 2 ways, so I would be able to shove it out. We have a detail we can notice. Version 2.3, revision October 6th. So if it's something from, say, version 2.0, that means they have not checked anything in forever, and they're trying to grab a template from their old notepad from like 3 years ago. Deny. Why do we do this? Simple thing is, if you look at this template, it's like a form. Forms don't change. If you go to the courthouse, you go to a lawyer, you go to a business and try to apply for a job, every form is literally on like a piece of paper or a PDF. It's the same thing for you and every other applicant, or if you're an employer, you're going to be posting that same template out, the same form. Consistency. Every single kid should be seeing the same layout. Every single local should be posting the same layout. That way, there's none of that goofy stuff of like, I'm going to try to sneak some stuff in or try to pull some fast ones. Consistent. That way, the only thing they have to pay attention to is right here. The fill in the blank stuff. When, where, blah, blah, blah. Keeping it simple. And for some reason, we as a community have struggled with copy and paste. So I'm going to show you just how simple it is to do the proper copy and paste. Right here. Rule 5. And there's even a tiny URL to a link that has a video on it. And this is the only one confirmed way to copy and paste everywhere. Okay? So if I go to Anchor's Teens, and I'll show you here. Here we go. So here's where the templates are. I go down. And I expand it out so you can see right there. Okay, there's the whole template. All you have to do is press and hold. And see right there where it says text copy to clipboard? That's it. Just one little bloop every time. If you're on iPhone, if you do that, it's going to pop up with one little bubble like that. And now you just hit the copy. So you press and hold and then hit copy. That's it. No drag, no open an extra tool. Don't do that. All you're doing is creating problems. We back out. I'm going to use my admins group, just since we can actually post there. You can see right there, there's the right something. There you go. And when you press and hold, you can see paste. Paste it. Ta-da. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Green light to red light. And then you post. And when you do, ta-da. It's that simple, guys. Press and hold. If you look at rule 5, there's only one confirmed way, and that's to use the press and hold method rather than click and drag. It'll save many heartaches. Here's the instructions. And if you go there, how to copy and paste. Using mobile, Facebook, find something to copy. We give you guys all the information. It's all been there for years. But for some reason, people still don't. I don't know how to copy and paste. We can't make it any easier for you guys. I have looked at all the community's complaints and stuff like that, and I'm going to tell you right now, all of them are because of a select few things. First one is this instant gratification of, I'm going to come in, I'm entitled, everything's going to be my way, I'm not going to read any of the rules. Where it literally says when you join the group to read the rules, they don't do that, they skip that, they skip, and they just make a post. And then they wonder why this stuff doesn't get approved. No. Teens for Hire is, you're going to put time into this. You're dealing with kids, for crying out loud. If you want something to do, like right now, immediately, no questions asked, go hire an adult. They've got experience. These kids don't. Okay? Kids need time to ask questions. They need you to ask them questions. They need practice. They need experience. If you don't have those kind of, going back to patience, if you don't have that patience, you're in the wrong program. And we're gonna help them with that. We're gonna protect them from people that are like, right here, right now, blah blah blah. No, have patience. If you need help, talk to us. We'll help you through that process. We've got plenty of it. Don't bring instant gratification in. Don't look for new ways to break the rules, like PMing and DMing and sneaking around. Quit trying to pull fast ones. All you're doing is wasting all of our time. If everybody was doing it right the first time, this would go so much faster and smoother. Instead, we spend more time of the one person that was applying for a job through PMs and DMs, and then they go and they mess the job up, or just the list is gone on and on and on. All of this can be avoided if people just follow the rules. And the thing about the rules is they're literally instructions. If you go in here and you look, need help, go to the page, etiquette, don't be a butt. Here's how to post jobs correctly, from green light to red light, grab everything. Which template do you select, teens, locals, business, whatever. Here's how you copy and paste. After local applies for or post a job, what happens in replies. Respect for others in job posting, and people act like we're like trying to write like the Bible or something like that. It's like, no, a lot of these are common sense, except for like a couple of these, like with the copy and paste method. That's a little bit technical, but the rest of this is all basics. Quit trying to make mountains out of molehills. And the second thing is failure to communicate. I'm gonna call it. People see the admins as like the big bad boogeyman, and I'm not gonna message them, and I'm gonna sneak stuff around. Since I don't know, I'm just gonna be like, whatever. No. The admins, that's why I hate the title admin. I wish that Facebook would let me change that. We're your support team. We're there to help you. And that's the thing is there's this thing, this misconception where it's like bad to ask for help or it's scary to ask for help. Or if the admin's a stranger, so I can't talk to them. Like, no, no, no. My admin team is there for you. Tried, true, and been around for almost a decade now, and help more kids than I could count. Use your resources politely and respectfully. Use this admin team. Hey, I got a question, or I want your opinion on something, or hey, I want to post my job, but I'm not sure if the wording's right. Can I send it here and you help me fix it? Use the admin team. Let us do good things for you. Let us set you up for success and let you teach you about some of the things you may be doing right or wrong. That way you learn, and when you do go out in the real world and you're applying for that job, or if you're applying for a scholarship or something like that, you're not going to make those mistakes there. Work out the things you need to learn here, because I don't know if anybody's told you guys yet, but the school system doesn't actually teach you everything, if anything, but that's a whole other conversation. But a lot of the stuff you can learn in life, you can learn right here, through successes and failures, and experiences and mentors and stuff like that. The community is a great resource. And we have it harnessed as a resource to help you. Why not use it? So, a lot of the issues with the locals, it's all stuff that we fixed, that we just drop prides and egos. All the admin stuff, like once all the drama goes away, that will make their concerns go away. Like all this stuff is tiny stuff. All this stuff is just stuff that shouldn't be. But as soon as it's just right now, it's just it's people trying to be territorial. And instead of trying to help solve the problems and make things better, they go and they make these new groups and new stuff. And like my personal favorite is somebody that really made a group and they're not even in the country 9 months out of the year. So if you need any kind of support, they're not here to help you. They have no locals there. Like they're basically like in one of the towns, like maybe like 2 weeks at a time, and then they're gone. And I've had one kid try to reach out to them, and there's nothing. No help, just there's a job posted, whatever, it's your problem. Is that the kind of support that you guys want for your kids? Where something majorly happens, like say if there's something criminal happens, like the locals not going to care or help you? And that we keep seeing these popping up all the time. Or like we'll find the one where somebody didn't get their job approved, so they're going to make their own group, so that way, oh, well, I'm doing it for the kids, but really they're doing it for themselves. We've had moderators we kicked out for the same reason, where, they were literally seeing jobs posted, and they're going to tell the kid, like, all right, I'm going to approve the job, and you instantly apply for it and take it. There's so much taking advantage of out there. Don't. That's why we screen this out. We try to keep everything fair, clean, legal. And so when we do that, appreciate it. Don't fight it. If you have a question about it, talk to us. We'll come message the page. Don't sit there and start blowing up comments. Message the page, and we'll have a good, respectful conversation about it. But at the same time, though, there's going to be a conclusion, and you have to be willing to accept that conclusion, even if it's not in your favor. Where just, like the one kid that, tried to get a business over even though he wasn't 19. That's life. There's nothing we can do about that. So we've covered posting the templates. We've covered locals and teens, or locals and admins concerns. And that's been the big parts about it right there. Now, what I do want to show you is two things. There is one post I do want to show you guys that I saw recently that just, it really, hit me in the heart. So it's going to be this right here. And this is from a lady named Catherine in another group. And she hit the nail on the head as best as she could. And looks like May 1st, they may reopen the group, which means she read the first post and it says we're reopening the group May 1st. Because I don't know how many times we get messages of, when you open the groups, like, read the first post. Like, we posted, we said we're pausing until May 1st. The people that run Teens for Hire put a lot of effort into running those pages and keep dirt bags from abusing teens low pay or those that shouldn't be near their kids. Now, I'm going to show you a job post, and it's this one right here. And this is what one thing he's talking about, not necessarily dirt bag, but just somebody doing low pay. And this was a mom posted for her kid, where her kid can do babysitting and tutoring. But if you look, she wants to do just $10 an hour, which is under minimum wage. Some makes it illegal, but at the same time, she wants to babysit up to 3 kids at $10 an hour, which if you do the math on that is $3.33 per kid. That's even more illegal. Now, when we tried to educate her on this and help her out, and first of all, getting her kid more money, for her services, and 2, making her kid legal, instead of working with us, she left the group, went over to another group, and tried to bash Teens for Hire as hard as she could because we would not approve her kid to work. And so they asked her, okay, so what's the problem? And she shared this. And she's like, well, Teens for Hire is, bad, blah, blah, blah. Oh, she got destroyed. She didn't realize just how much support Teens for Hire had. Because first of all, you're trying to make a kid work, do something illegal, and we protect your kid from that. And now you're trying to trash us in a group that supports Teens for Hire. Oh, it was a good hour and a half of, I laughed pretty hard from that one. I didn't even, all I did was I chimed in and said, here's all the proof that you guys need. Here's all the evidence where everything, whatever she's trying to say, here's the truth of it all. Because that's what we do. We keep everything transparent. So if you're going to, you need help, we'll share with it. But if you're going to go and try to trash us and make up stuff, we have no problem pulling screenshots and logs, and here's everything. So we're not going to let your kids work for low pay. We're not going to let them work for illegal pay either. I've been very happy with the connections we've had with that group before it blew up into a big group. The groups are going to blow up. They're going to get bigger, and you're going to get always more people, more diverse attitudes and stuff like that. And that's just the way the world works. As people leave, move on, stuff like that. It's always about adapting. It's not about being complacent. No change, stuff like that. It's about adapting, and that's what a lesson in life is, and that's what kids need to learn. Is that locals come, locals go, teens come, teens go. You have to be willing to roll with the punches and change. If you change, you thrive in business. If you don't change, look what COVID happened. Look what happened with COVID. A lot of businesses didn't want to change their ways, and they ended up closing up shop. Those that did change their ways, they've thrived and they made it through, and now they're thriving even more. People came in being entitled, wanting to basically have their kid get every job, and arguing with the admins about the way the group was set up, mostly adults, but children too. Something we've already addressed was the attitudes and entitlements. They have changed the way you post, trying to keep it beneficial for all, and people blew up, which we addressed that too. Where everything's changed for a reason, and it's all documented, even with revision numbers. That way, people know when the last changes were. But it's about every time that something happens that's not your way, it's just blow up, blow up, blow up. It's like change can be good, and a lot of our changes have been good. And there's been every once in a while where I'll do something and it won't be bad, but there's a reason for it. It's been pretty self-explanatory on how to post, and things were explained more than I think needed, but most people, parents doing the work for their kid, didn't want to be put out with the extra work. If you look at the template, okay, and I'm going to go back here to the templates. And when it comes to the basics of communication, no matter whether you're applying for something or you're just anything in communication, there are 6 questions that are relevant to everything. Basically, without these 6 questions, if a piece is missing, then your conversation is incomplete. And it's known as the 5 W's and an H. That is who, what, when, where, why, and how. Now, if you look at our template, those 6 questions influence the template. Who, the job is the what, when, where, how many and how much is there, and then the whys. It's all in here. 6 questions. Why people think these simple ways are so complicated baffles me. It's like it's the fundamentals of communication. I can't make them any simpler. But this template is our creation. We built this, and it's been proven successful time and time and time again. So when people come in and they say it's so hard, well, thousands of people before you have done it. It's just, you're not want to pay attention to the little words, and it's about paying attention to details. And it's not extra work. If you're dealing with kids, you're going to do extra work. Like I said, there's no thing about instant gratification, stuff like that. Kids need time, kids need patience, kids need explanations, they need mentorship, stuff like that. So, no matter if the parent doing extra work, the local doing extra work, there's going to be extra work. If you ain't got time for the extra work, go spend the extra money and hire an adult that you don't have to put a thought into. You're not going to hurt our feelings. They were teaching children and apparently adults how to fully explain what you're offering for a service or state any experience or references. That's our use your words. God, I love how she's hitting everything on like a nail on the head. Using your words. Don't sit there and say, I'm interested or hire me or something. Nowhere in the world have you been able to succeed only using like 2 words. When it comes to business. You're going to, that's why if you look at like a government thing or you look at any business or anything in the world, it's going to be like 1, 2, 3 pages, not 2 words. Even when you apply for a job, you're starting to put all this information in. You're not going to put hire me and that's it. So why do you think people come into here and not use your words baffles me. Use your words. We know you use them every day. We see the gripes in there. You guys use 5,000 words to gripe, but you won't use 2 words to make a post. It's backwards. It's things you'll have to do when you have a real job. Exactly. The group is run by volunteers. Yes. And I, for one, appreciate what they've done. Thank you, Catherine. They've had this group going and it's been successful for almost a decade. Quiet and pretty smooth going until some select few people try to ruin things. Obviously. And it's every year. There's always, new people, stuff like that, or somebody gets their butt hurt because their job didn't get posted and they go and they make mountains out of molehills. Just stop. Because all you're going to do is you're going to, make us mad. We're probably going to kick you out and, and we don't want the drama. It's not welcome. That's what rule 2 is, etiquette. If you're going to bring drama, take it elsewhere. Just take it where nobody's listening. Because nobody wants to listen to it. Okay, so get rid of that right there. And let's go back to my notes. No, not that. There you go. Now that we've addressed all that, the unpausing of the groups. We got a select few days, the 29th. In 2 days on Thursday, the groups are coming unpaused. I'm hoping that we don't have a lot of the dramas and egos and attitudes from before. I'm hoping that me addressing all this will put some change into the community, because that's one thing I do is I like to inspire positive change. That's what teens are supposed to be about, is putting positive change into the community, not this negative attitudes. Leave all that elsewhere. Don't want it. What I would like to see, this is my goal, is teens posting up like I'm looking for work, or I'm taking jobs, or I've got businesses and this is what I'm offering. Locals, I know you guys have been stockpiling jobs. I like to see the groups flooded with all those jobs. I like to see so many opportunities that kids are literally like just scrolling trying to find the jobs they want to apply for. Like there's so many that, they're apply. Businesses, I know it's summertime and it's time for some change out. Let's get every business out there. Let's get all the roster filled. 14, 16, 17, 18, 19 year olds, whatever you're applying for, get those jobs posted. We should hit the ground running. All the groups. They should just be going from 0 to 100. There's no reason for it. I don't want to see all of a sudden we unlock unlock the groups and we get like one post. You're not helping the kids. You're not helping each other. You know. And the thing is, if you spread the jobs around to like 50 million groups, nobody can find them. And then you don't know if something's a good job, a bad job, a good community, a bad community. Like the only one that's been tried to and tested, Teens for Hire. The only one that does the homework for you and your kids, and the one that keeps your kids safe is Alaska Teens for Hire. This is your official group that you know. This is the one that's you know the admins. You know the teams. You know everything. Don't risk your kids' lives. Don't risk There's something I teach kids, which is don't chase the money. When it comes to kids, going out and working, like any kid can go out and make $40 tomorrow. You'll see a job posted, you can go out there, mow a yard, make $40. That's the easy part. Doing it safely and having the reputation built to do it consistently, to make it an income. Building a reputation, all of that. That's the hard part. Because you can go and make $40 and then have that local go and badmouth you tomorrow and then nobody wants to hire you. Just as soon as you make a good business, you can have a bad business the next day. That's the challenge. Is building. It's in layers. You're building yourself up. Where you can take on more clients, you can get more experience, you can do more skills. Because look what happened in the winter, where some kids they could only do snow shoveling, and all of a sudden there was no snow to shovel. What do? And some kids adapted where they went and got jobs like Kroger stuff, and some didn't, and they really just sat at home or just went to school. Because they did not adapt themselves. Everything is there. All the resource there, whether it be nonprofits like Alaska Works, who are really bringing opportunities to your kids of, do you want to be in somewhere in the trades like a carpenter or an electrician or heavy machinery or, a plumber, whatever. They got all these opportunities and they're free and available to your kids, and all they got to do is just say yes. And for some reason, the kids just pass it over like it's nothing. It's like, guys, I wish that was available when I was a kid. I would have been taking all those classes. Even right now, I wish I had more carpentry skills so I can do more repairs in my home, or electrical skills where I can run my own electrical wiring up to code, and wire my basement, for example. Or even just heavy machinery. I'm sorry, but that just sounds like fun. These are things that are available to you guys, and their quota should be filled every month. And instead, they're like, "Where's the kids?" Parents, locals. You see these opportunities. If you know a kid to be good for it, either reach out to us or reach out to them, and we'll reach out to them. Let's get these kids inspired. Just go try new things. That's what Teens for Hire is about: is trying new things. Whether it be you just want to try babysitting, you want to try lawn mowing, you want to try a job painting the side of a shed, or if you want to go try something with Alaska Works and learn a new skill set. There's something I was taught years ago, which is if you ain't learning, you ain't living. The day you stop learning is the day you're not living. So go learn new things. Go grow. This is the time to be a sponge and absorb everything you can. You're going to have the whole rest of your life to go make money. And that's literally what a lot of adulting is making money. Learn the skill sets to do that. Anybody can go work at McDonald's, stuff like that. But not many people can go and make a business or learn or make connections that's going to get them into a higher paying job and stuff like that. You start here, because I don't know if they've told you guys, but the world ain't fair. A lot of the jobs that are meant for you teens are people my age doing them. And they shouldn't be. They should be, those jobs, should be for just this. For example, I'm just gonna use one, a fry cook at McDonald's. That should just be a teenager's doing that. But for some reason, they'll have someone in their 30s and 40s that's been doing it for 20 years. And it's come on. They should have graduated past that into something else. But because they're holding that job up, that means no teenager can apply for it. And that's no fault to you teenagers, but that's just the way that we work, the world that we're working right now. So there's less and less supply for you guys. So you can either fight for that job as a fry cook at McDonald's, or you can learn the skill sets, reputations, and all that stuff to skip past that and get to something you really want. Maybe you want to go and be an insurance salesman. Maybe you want to go and be a house builder. Maybe you want to go be a doctor, whatever. But a lot of those skill sets you're going to learn here, like customer service and stuff like that, and you're overcoming fear, managing your finances, stuff like that, all starts here. Take advantage. Grow to be the best teens as you can be, because once you turn 20, going past 19, that's it. Learning time's over from us. Then you're out in the world, and we hope that we prepared you the best we can. There's other organizations, whether it be like I said, Alaska Works or Special Olympics, where they've got volunteer opportunities, which looks really, really great on resumes. A lot of the school systems, for example, like the colleges, they come through and they post stuff. Sorry, it's just so many that we see, and kids will pass them by like they're nothing. It's like, guys, you should be taking advantage of all these. Locals, parents, you should be inspiring your kids to, try, apply, get involved. It'll change. I'm telling you, it'll change your future. You control your future. You can either wake up tomorrow and it be just like yesterday, or tomorrow could be a new day. Your choice on what tomorrow looks like. So, May 1st, the group's open. It is up to you guys whether it's an amazing summer or a slow summer. If you guys need help, ask. If you have questions, ask. If you want to get involved, come talk to us. If you're any kid out there, I'm gonna tell you right now, we should have like hundreds of thousands of kids messaging the page saying I need help, or I've got questions like that. Or how can I make my post better? How can I make my job ads better? Or hey, I want to learn this skill set. How do I do that? Or do you have any connections for this? Just 50,000 questions you guys could ask. It's your life. When you turn 20, those resources like Alaska Works won't be there for you, because they're only for 19 and under. Every day you're not taking advantage of an opportunity is the day you're wasting. So we'll try to help you. Same time, locals and parents should be trying to help you too. But at the same time, you got to make the decision to help yourself. We can only do so much. So like I said, May 1st, groups on pause. Let's see if we can hit the ground running. Let's see if we can have the best summer that we've had in a long time. And if there's things to address, we'll address them as they come. Without further ado, 2 more days and everything will be open. And that's why I've said it enough times. So hopefully somebody catches it at least once. On that note, I'm going to say goodnight. And from Alaska Teens for Hire to everybody that's been supporting us, thank you very much. To everybody that's got a problem with us, I hope that we can fix problems and turn problems into solutions. If not, then I wish you guys the best of luck. But beyond that, we're going to keep doing what we're doing and looking forward to continuing to serve the community as best as we can. Good night.